President Obama asking Congress for nearly $4 billion to deal with the massive influx of illegal immigrant children on our southern border, but holding off on seeking legal changes to speed up the deportation process of those same children. Only a fraction of the request, by the way, will go to the overburdened court system, $64 million. Hiring as well, immigration judges, expanding courtroom capacity, providing legal representation to the children, and $300 million to repatriate and reintegrate them into their home countries, should that ever be possible. Joining me now, Lise Wheel, leading attorney, author of the new book, A Deadly Business, attorney Mercedes Colwin, both Fox News legal analysts. Let me start with you, Lise. $3.7 billion. Could he make more of a shambles of his responsibilities as president?
Let me go to the legalities of this. The problem I see with this is he's got a due process sort of channel for all these kids that are coming through. But what they have to show, if they ever get to these deportation hearings, which we're paying all this money for, we as taxpayers are paying all this money for, is that if they go back to their home countries, they'll be abused. There's a humanitarian concern to that. First of all, they're not even going to get to the deportation hearings. They're not going to show up. And even if they do...
So you're saying that as a matter of fact, if they go home, they will be abused?
Well, no, they have to make that point. They have to prove that point.
To prove asylum.
Exactly.
They're seeking asylum in this country, and in order to do that, they have to say they have to imminent harm in their country of origin.
I know that's
Otherwise,
the process
they don't.
Legally.
Right.
But the reality is this. Those children are being handed over to custodians.
Right.
A phone number, often not a name. They don't have an address.
Exactly.
Secondly, not having that address and name, there's no way to pursue the whereabouts of those children. Therefore, they're not going to be part of this very fine legal system that you two engage in.
And that's the point. All the money that goes into it, if they don't show up for the hearings.
So why in the world do we continue to permit a sham like this by an administration and a president?
It shouldn't happen.
This is pure political exploitation.
It shouldn't happen because these children are truly at risk. I mean, aside from all the legalities, they're at risk to be exploited here because, as you said, there's custodians have no way of tracking these children once they enter these borders. They're coming without their families.
Every agent who turns over a child, a minor, to someone whose name he doesn't or she doesn't have, or an address or any way to follow. For God's sake, there's no follow-up?
They've been transported across the border to begin with. Then they're into Texas, right? And then we transport them to Arizona.
Well, the drug cartels move them to the border. Okay, then there are responsibilities.
Okay, but then from Texas, then we pay for them pretty much to go from Texas to Arizona. We have lawyers for them, ready for them, but they won't show up.
But you understand what's happening here? This isn't simply transportation. This is a dispersal into our society so that they will be lost.
And when you look at the court system, too, Lou, to give only $64 million to the court system, how many judges can you possibly have? When you have hundreds of thousands of kids.
I thought you were going to say, how many judges can you buy for a loss of $64 million?
It'll take a lot more than $64 million. No, but I mean, truthfully, that's part of the issue. If you truly want to have this due process in place, you don't put a fraction of what you're seeking.
Let's talk about due process. Andrew Tahmooressi sitting in a Mexican jail for just about 100 days.
Ridiculous.
101 as of tomorrow. What in the world are we doing here? Why are we messing with this? Why aren't we just demanding his release and be done with it?
It's outrageous. You want
to... Because it's you can't just go into Mexico and say, extradite him, get rid of it. It doesn't happen very quickly in Mexico. Mom, his mother, is going down there.
But wait a minute. How many billions of dollars does Mexico get from the U.S. government? There can't be some...
now you're doing a money
thing. Just say it this way. One president calls the other president and says,
get it done.
There's a mistake.
Don't ever behave like this again. We want him free, and we want it now. This is a private conversation. Don't do it.
And by the way, Lou, there's a history of that. There's a history of this type of negotiation between the two countries. Why has it taken 3 months?
Because
going on 4 months now.
Think of the questions that one asks when it comes to this administration and why they do what they do. They pile up. They compound themselves. It is maddening, to say the very least. Let me turn to